All right. Here we all are.
All three of us. Shanti's here from the very beginning. Say something, Shanti. She burped. I don't think it was loud enough to catch on the mic.
Well, so here we are.
Another week has gone by, and so quickly, too. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
they fly.
They really do. I get up in the morning and think, what am I doing today? And a lot of times I don't know what I'm going to do today because I just have an enormous to-do list that I just constantly hack through.
Right.
Like Mondays are my work on the business day and my, reply to emails and just get stuff done day. And before I know it, it is night. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pretty consistent.
I had, I met a piano man on Sunday. No, Sunday, yes.
I think it was Sunday,
It was Sunday. Yeah, Sunday morning. So Pop Choir has started in Broomfield. So we have 2 chapters this time, one in Broomfield, one in Denver. Mm-hmm. And we are running the Broomfield chapter in our Broomfield studio, which has of the 4 rooms, it's got a middle one that's bigger than the others. That's where Kristen used to teach her lessons, and she had a piano in there, and she left that piano when she left, which was fine with me at the time, but now we need more room in that room.
Oh, I see.
We need more of the
Right.
space. So she found a company called Pianos for Humanity, which picks up pianos for
that's
free
awesome,
and
yeah.
then gives them to people for almost no cost. Just
That's
as, like,
great.
The guy, and it's a single guy running the whole thing, and he's passionate about it. He just wants people to have pianos.
Oddly enough, there are too many pianos.
There are too many pianos in the world.
Yeah, I mean, you constantly see them for free. Like, if you'll
Yeah.
pick it up, you can just have it.
Yeah.
But most people can't pick up a piano.
Yeah. So he's figured out how to move a piano by himself.
Whoa.
Well, he said he leans on his clients a little bit, and he did lean on me to help him. a little
Okay.
bit. But fortunately, this piano's on. He's got this whole system of jacks and dollies and straps and
Pulleys
stuff.
and- yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, he was
Wow.
a character because he showed up. He's a little hard of hearing, so I had to talk very loudly if I wanted to be heard. We got the piano out without too much trouble, and we had it out in front of the door. We're in the corner of the L of the shopping center there.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, now it's my time to give a concert. And I was like, really? And he just launches into the Charlie Brown song. But like kind of at a frantic pace and very loud.
Wow.
And I was like,
in the parking lot.
on the sidewalk.
Wow.
In the shopping center. I was like, thank goodness it is Sunday and there's nobody here. Because I was just standing there kind of like, how long is this going to go on? And do I need to make it stop? I mean...
Is this some sort of bizarre long con where he's just figured out a way, like, his big thing is playing piano on the sidewalk?
Well, I mean, he said that he used to gig all the time. He's a musician. Dude,
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're in this business. But he did like all of the main parts of that song, and I clapped a few times. And he's like, and now it's my turn to sing. I could advertise for your company, right? And he launches into New York, New York. New York, New York. And he's not a good singer. He's like, New York, New York. And I'm like, oh my God. Please stop.
How did Shanti feel about that? We'll never know
No,
because she
maybe
ran
so, yeah.
away.
Doesn't like when Mom makes those noises.
Does not like it.
Anyway, he stopped that pretty quickly, and then I helped him get the thing into the trailer on the back of his Jeep, and that was it. But that was the beginning of my Sunday.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was a good start to the...
Yeah, so then we had Pop Choir, and that was the beginning of that. And not really much to say about that, but so we got other things.
Did you hang out for that?
No.
Okay.
I spent my whole day getting that place ready for Pop Choir. Anyways, I drove up. I tried to print the sheet music before I left.
You had to come back.
I ran out of paper the moment I started printing. So, but I was running out of time to meet the guy. So I had to go meet the guy and then come back home to what I knew would be a working printer and then print all the stuff and then go back up.
And then go back up, yeah.
And I was just moving stuff around in the room and stuff. So, anyway, that was that.
Well, like you said, like you just said when we were eating dinner, new problems you never thought of come up every day.
That is what being a business owner is.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I said that to Izzy when we had dinner Thursday night. And it came out like a complaint. I was telling her about life, and I was like, oh, it's just like life and business is just a series of problems. And I meant it like, not like, oh, everything's a problem. Oh, the problems never end. That's not what I meant. I meant everything you do is a series of new challenges to overcome. And that's why most of the time, maybe not today, I like owning a business, because it's unlike just teaching voice all the time. I mean, yeah, there's different students and different vocal challenges to some degree,
Right.
but like owning a business, there is constantly something new to figure out how to solve.
Right.
And when you're in the right mood, that's great. When you're not in the right mood for it, you're like, oh my God, another problem, another thing to fix.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, that's music in a way. I was talking to you about mixing stuff. I spent, definitely today been mixing kind of a lot because I've been recording kind of a lot. And, but I was just mixing some stuff for Mateo up at Global Sound. He has a program where he teaches all kinds of lessons, but also puts teens together into bands. And rather than the School of Rock thing where they just do covers, his bands actually do original music, and they're much
That's
more like
pretty cool.
actual bands,
That's
not
really
just
cool.
not just you have to play bass because that's what we need, or there's 4 guitar players and you get your turn every 4th song or whatever. It's like he puts them into real bands and kind of cultivates a band culture. It's a cool thing. Anyway, I was telling you about mixing and coming up with a different way to deal with kind of a template for dealing with these Pro Tools sessions. And it's so interesting because, much like you were saying, I mixed one song, got it perfect, moved on to the next song, used like literally the mixing template, so everything was set the same, and there were all these adjustments to be made, even when I sort of evened out the differences in how loud something was recorded and stuff. And it's just because the song's in a different key, it's a different tempo, it's a different singer, it's a different, all of those things. There's so many things. Nothing ever just works perfectly.
But it did save you a lot of time.
It saved me a ton of time. And I brought it up, I brought the song up under the template. I won't go into kind of how I was doing it, but, and it instantly was, it was like 80% there, 90% there, which was great. It saved me a ton of time. But it was just so interesting how, much like you were talking about, there were just some problems like, well, I've never had that problem before. And yet, here we are in yet another song, and I've got to figure out another way to get around some sort of thing that's just not quite mixing the way it should.
Isn't that just life? Well,
That's just,
there's a problem I haven't come across before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The drummer, kind of a great drummer, but would hit these snares that were just, I don't know how it's even possible, 3 or 4 times louder than most of the snares. And it wasn't like a tip-tappy.
You mean some of his hits were way louder than the others? Or he was hitting louder than other drummers?
No, some of his hits.
Oh, gosh.
And it wasn't even that it was like he was hitting super soft and then every once in a while would really whack it. It was like a good snare hit. I mean, he was a good drummer, a good sounding drummer. And then he would like go in to do a fill and just like one of the peaks would be like 4 times bigger.
Oh my gosh.
And luckily Mateo recorded it and he did it right and didn't let it clip and stuff. So that was good. But it was an interesting thing of like, how in the world are you like getting that much more force into,
It's all on the wrist.
I guess it's all on the wrist, or who knows. Anyway, that's what I spent most of today doing. It was kind of, I'm just reminding myself to not do everything in this bespoke, starting from scratch, do everything. That's
Yeah.
normally my approach, and I'm starting to really force myself to be like, no, get a template, just put the template on it, and then
Yeah.
adjust, again, for the little things that are different. Different singers' voices are always so different, so you have to do a little something different.
I mean, if you're working at volume, which you are,
Right.
you cannot do everything bespoke.
Yeah.
You have to get a process and
just
figure out efficient ways to do things. It doesn't mean shortchanging anyone. It just means saving yourself time.
Yeah, and just kind of sticking to that formula,
Yeah.
and going like, oh, I could hear using a different delay or echo or whatever on this song, but nope, gonna stick with it.
That doesn't let you go into any weeds. That's for sure.
That is one reason
Yeah.
it moved faster for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else do we have? Oh
Well-
my gosh, Saturday.
Saturday. Well, you see, I have this new sweater on. It's really soft. We went shopping.
Yeah.
We went to South Broadway neighborhood. Not South Denver, but like south of downtown.
Yeah.
And went to a couple vintage shops. I didn't find anything there, but I found this sweater. And then we went to True. I think it's True Brewing. It's TRVE.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's.
So I assume
Trove?
Trove.
It's like Trove without the O, or True where you replace the U with a V.
Yeah.
Or is it Trove?
Turv.
Trove?
It's probably Turv. That's so catchy. You would assume that.
Well, it was Nordic. Maybe that's the Nordic word. Trove.
I know, and we were talking about branding because
Yeah.
they had the best branding. Like they just stuff was very on. It was kind of a gothic-y,
Yeah.
Viking-y.
Yeah.
And from the pictures on the wall, and they were playing metal music, and they did an amazing job of. They were playing metal music, but it was low enough that it wasn't ruining
Yeah.
your
So
life.
even though it was like constant double bass and
Yeah.
screaming, like constant, and I would
Yeah.
normally not be able to tolerate that. It was fine with me.
They had it at the right
Yeah.
volume where it just you could
They had skulls and they had candles.
Yeah.
They had the artwork, and even like the beer selection was unusual. It seemed very like, I mean, it was summer outside, but
Right.
it was like you felt like you were in like, I don't know,
it was
the Nordic countries.
Nordic was
like
the word.
you were an old Viking and you were here in the winter and you're staying, and it was dark inside. It was really dark.
Yeah, very dark.
And the highlight for me had nothing to do with all that, but the highlight was the fried chicken sandwiches. I think the best fried chicken sandwich I've ever eaten
At the
in
back
my
of the
life.
brewery, I don't even know if it's the same business. Maybe it's two different.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
But they had a little counter service chicken place, and the Nashville chicken thing that's become so popular, which is just fried chicken with hot sauce on it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if that's really a Nashville. I don't remember that from going to Nashville. But anyway, one of the best chicken sandwiches.
I was just like beside myself, exclaiming how good it was. Of course, I was hungry too.
So unbelievably crunchy.
Yeah.
Like the fried chicken was just like crunchy. It was
flavor was so
unbelievable.
good.
Yeah, the flavor was great. Great amount of heat. So highly recommend True if you get down on Broadway. Definitely
Yeah. It was at like, it wasn't so far south Broadway. It was like 2nd Street.
second. I think between
Third.
second and third.
Yeah.
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 So that was a blast. We had gone out to see one of our clients' bands, and it turned out they had canceled, and we got super lucky and noticed that they were no longer on the bill while you were still trying to buy tickets. And we were
Yeah.
like, wait a second.
And the tickets were expensive
yeah, they were really expensive. And
for 4 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon.
yeah. So we got lucky there.
Yeah.
And then we wound up not going to the other show we were going to, partially due to a minor COVID scare. It wasn't really the first band I'd been working with all week, and then we found out at their show that they had to cancel because they had COVID, and I was like, oh no.
I was just in
I
a
was
room
working with
them
them all week. But I took a test and I'm fine.
Yeah.
But
you seem like you're a lot better today too.
I feel a lot better today. I think maybe I had a little bit of something, but
Yeah.
I obviously tested, whatever. Yeah, I feel a lot better today. And gosh, what else did we do?
You wanted to talk about, well, what else did we do or that night?
Well, yeah,
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Do you want to talk about writing in the room as a band? total change of subject here, but that was something that we didn't talk about last week.
Yeah, we were going to talk about that last week. Well, it's been interesting because one of the bands I have been working with is Half Zen, who Jonathan Grechler, and I've produced basically 2 albums for him. And in the past, he did not have a band. It was just the 2 of us. And I'm sure I've talked about it. Jonathan would come in with just vocals that he had worked out and written a song, just vocals, because he doesn't play an instrument. And then I would put music behind it and play all the stuff. And we've done a couple albums. And then recently I've helped him put together a band, and we've been working with his band. And what's been interesting is what I often call writing in the room. Or not just me, it's just meaning rather than a lot of times you and I, like for Adrian O, will write stuff, just you and I, maybe going back and forth, and you add some stuff, and we work on the computer, and we get this, and then we present the stuff basically finished to the band. Whereas writing in the room is when you're actually standing in the room with the full band, working on writing the songs, arranging the songs, finding the parts. And it is such a different experience. I, of course, used to do that, you know. High school bands did that. No Address did a fair amount of that. But it's been a while because we just don't tend to work that way. I guess maybe it possibly happened once or twice with Adrian O, but in general.
Yeah,
you
maybe
know.
once or twice.
Yeah. So it's just an interesting process of, number one, trying to get everybody on the same page as to what the song is going to be, because that is one of the big challenges. Everybody, you know, sees the song as something different, you know.
Right, because it doesn't exist yet.
Right.
So it the only place it exists is in each person's head
Right.
from scratch. So everyone has a different idea of what it could be, obviously,
Where
because
it's
there's
gonna
no
go.
shared reality yet.
Right. That is exactly what it is. You know, and one person thinks, oh, this is going to be like a super energetic, punky song. And then another person's like, no, I think this should be kind of acousticy. And, or, you know, those are two strong examples. But they did actually come up when we were working on this song we've been working on the last 2 weeks, where the singer really was hearing it as a much lighter, you know, kind of like happy, hippy dippy kind of little, you know, clean guitar song. And the band was not hearing it that way at all. And so we had to find a way to get, you know, in between.
Did he regret having the whole band come in and contribute to the song? Or
No, he's really happy, and it did turn out great. It's so unwieldy to do because people will have ideas, and of course you want people to contribute ideas when you're working on writing in the room. But also, the only way to try an idea is to try it. Whereas the way we work, it can be very quick to go, oh, I have an idea. Why don't we do this a little bit longer? I can do that on the computer and,
right.
you know.
Copy, paste, boop.
Yeah, there you go. But when you're in a room with people, you've got to then, somebody has an idea like, hey, why don't we do this? And then you've got to talk about it and get everybody on the same page going, oh, okay, I understand what you want to try. And then you've got to run it and try it a few times. And maybe the first time you run it that way, maybe you're only running a song section. Maybe it's just like, let's just go in on the chorus and change the chords to this. And you get everybody on the same page. And the first time you try it, it maybe doesn't sound great, but you don't know, did it not sound great because we just weren't comfortable with the idea yet? Or we only heard it one time?
Yeah.
So then you've got to try it like 5 times, and then you often are like, you know what, actually that's not a great idea. And there's a real danger in it too, because you can often get into a mode where ideas don't get rejected. It becomes it's the downside of the yes and, where every suggestion everybody makes, it becomes this thing where it's just like we're going to work in anything anybody says, and you can just start getting further and further afield, or kind of kludgy, or now you've got like, this is not one clear idea, this is like 5 ideas, and the bass player thought of doing this, and the drummer thought of doing this, and then how about if we do this? And you know, it can work out great, and you can definitely wind up with some lowest common denominator stuff.
So when you wrote that way with No Address, did it help that you had a vision for the music overall that was really well honed? I mean, Jonathan has a definite style.
He definitely has a sound.
But how did that work for you guys?
Well, for No Address, it worked great because I think we did have a real vision for what we wanted the band to sound like, and because we were very past the point, pretty early on, of being nice to each other.
Oh, yeah.
Or worrying about feelings, or like, yeah, sure, let's try your idea because that's your idea. It would just be like if somebody thought of something and we'd just be like, that, like,
you wouldn't have to try it 5 times.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to,
no, I'm not so sure that's the best one. Anybody got any other ideas?
Was
you're like,
pretty...
no, we're not going to try that.
And then we would do a thing too where it was almost like a divided thing where a lot of times a lot of those songs were very literally written in the room. Like with Jonathan's song, he had an idea of how he wanted to do it and what the words were, and he had lyrics and he had, a rough melody. But a lot of times with No Address, we would start jamming on some stuff, and Ben Lauren, the singer, would have nothing and would just start singing gibberish over what we were doing. Mm-hmm. And the band would sort of focus on each other while trying to support what Ben was doing. Mm-hmm. And then Ben would just kind of be off in his own world trying to sort things out and so on and so forth. So it actually worked, really, really well. And I think a lot of it was, like I said, we had the vision, and then we also no one was worrying about anybody else's feelings. Right. So that helped a ton.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that helps a lot, and in this Half Zen situation, luckily, technically, I am producing, so I kind of have that role. And I did with No Address. It's good to have a guy or two, like the singer and somebody else, who are, if not sort of leading things, because I'm not always the one with the idea. Sometimes I'm like, I don't have an idea. Other people say stuff. But having one person who's sort of directing traffic, maybe, rather than a true democratic. Because I've seen stuff, and I've worked with bands, even somewhat recently, where they're so concerned with it being a democracy that often they get down to, like, that everything's got to be fair and everybody have to have an equal amount of input and all this stuff. So they get down to the point where, okay, now everyone dislikes what's happening, so now it's fair because we all dislike it equally. We couldn't agree on what to do, so now we all hate it.
But we all have a thing in it.
But it's all even now because we all dislike it an equal amount. It's not what anybody wants it to be, so then it's fair.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like a recipe.
It is not. I mean, to a degree, I think that's ultimately, like, in the big picture, that's a little bit of what happened with the No Address record on Atlantic, was we were trying to please the band and the label and 5 different people at the label, and they all had ideas of what they wanted it to be, and the producer had an idea, and we had an idea, and there were parts of that record that wound up being like, well, we can all, this is now, again, lowest common denominator. Nobody loves it, but everybody's getting a little bit of what they want. Yeah. So, and I am such a, I'm just such a, I do not believe in democracy with art. I think you can't be democratic in art. It destroys things. There has to be a, if nothing else, a lot like No Address, a guiding principle that is over and above the whole thing. Or there just has to be somebody, like with Adrian O, with you, where it's very much your vision, and it's like, does it fit your vision, then it's good. Does it not fit your vision, then we've got to change it, or we've got to have another idea or something. So, but it's been interesting writing in the room again. It's very, man, it gave me deja vu. It was very high school. Like, wow, this is just, I will say what is interesting is how many ideas might sound really good when you're doing it by yourself on guitar or doing it by yourself on piano. And then you get a full band doing it and you go, wait, that sounds very different than what I would have thought. Or, it just will sound different in the room. It's one of the challenges of the writing in the room thing, where you're like,
That's a similar challenge when you write in the box, though. In the box, meaning on the computer.
Right.
Sometimes you can do a song that sounds like it is completely finished and it's going to work just great with the band on the computer, and then the band plays it and it just doesn't come across the same.
Yeah.
So.
Or, you'll hear stuff where, like, I would do this on the bass, or the bass player is doing something that I would normally think that will never, ever work. That will never work. And for whatever reason, the personality of of the person playing and the style, you'll be like, well, son of a bitch. That's just fine. I would have bet money against that being okay, but it when you do it, it works. Like I wouldn't get away with that for whatever reason, but when you do it, it sounds good. Which kind of points to who knows what that even is. It's like ultimately music is more than the math of this goes together and this is
note for this long.
This theory. Theoretically we're in this key and we're in this scale, and so if we're all staying in the scale, then it's all going to work, and then stuff can be outside of that and be great and work fine, and you're like, there's so many great musicians who are that way, where you're just like, man, that guy pulls it off, but nobody else could play that bass line, or if anybody else played that note in the solo, it would sound so silly. But they can just pull it off. Or Charlie Watts and his crazy, like the way he plays hi-hat, and he never hits the hi-hat and the snare at the same time. And
really?
Yeah, it's such an idiosyncratic thing. And now you've heard it so much, people will copy it sometimes because it's like, he made it sound really cool. But you were like, well, if someone described that idea to you and you'd never heard it before, you would be like, yeah, of course you have to keep the hi-hat going. You can't just like stop playing the hi-hat, twice a bar. And then he pulled it off and he made it sound cool. Anyway, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. I have this piece of hair that keeps sticking out that I can see. Do you see that?
Uh-huh.
What is with that? It's just...
Maybe it's trying to escape.
It's trying to escape my head.
Yeah.
So we have something special next week. We have 2 guests coming on.
Oh, yeah.
Next week.
Thank you for putting that together.
Yeah. Well, Andrea was the one who reached out. Thank you. So I know these are regular listeners also, and we haven't mentioned them in a while. Andrea Tringo and Stephen Posusta. They've been involved with Performance High for a long time.
Yes.
They've been in one of our bands. Their son has taken lessons and also been in that band. Well, I guess it was Andrea and her son, their son,
right.
Victor, who was in the band.
Stephen and I worked on guitar and a little bit of songwriting.
So they've been going to a lot of open mic nights to get stage experience, and they wanted to share their pointers, things they've picked up, things they've learned, some specific places they've been going to. So
that is so cool.
We will talk about that.
Yeah,
next
that'll be
week.
a blast. So, yeah, working on having more guests. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are sponsored, as always, by Performance High.
Voice and Music Studio.
And True Brewing.
We didn't even plan that.
We didn't. She's like, we rehearsed for hours. True Brewing, if you get a chance. And, I'm going to go with the concept of Nashville chicken. If you find a place that's having Nashville hot chicken sandwiches, try it. It's
good stuff.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
So we will see you next week. Thank you again for hanging out with us. And, all 3 of us will see you soon.
Shanti says, meow.
Meow.
Bye.